Hello and welcome to our free comic book day 2023 special. I'm Jason
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So there are, I believe, 43, possibly more, because DC sneaks in some
Yeah.
books to free comic book day where they release a few days before or
hmm
right around the time. But I think there's around 43 books coming out this free comic book day. Our shop is offering at least 38 of them.
hmm
And so Andy and I are going to go over by far the bulk of the books that are coming out this free comic book day. We're going to try to do spoiler light reviews. We're going to tell you a little bit about these books, but without telling you every last detail.
Right. Yeah.
So buckle up and let's go.
We want you to be informed when you go in because you may not be able, your store might have a number limit of how many you can
That's true.
get. So it helps knowing a little bit more about them. And I'm starting off with DC's big book this year. This is Dawn of DC Night Terrors. So this is kicking off DC's new big event for the summer, Night Terrors. This is really good. So this is written by Joshua Williamson. The art is done by Howard Porter and Chris Bachalo, which I've not seen at DC in a long time. He's mostly a Marvel guy. This is a 10-page story with a bunch of back matter, a checklist, some variant cover art, all of that kind of thing. But the main story involves Damien having a nightmare. But there's more to the nightmare than just a bad dream. This seems like something almost like a nightmare attack on him. And it's one of those horrifying things. He doesn't even know, when am I awake, when am I asleep. I look at somebody, but then they've got a crazy face. And it's hitting very personal, kind of showing him his parents and his friends all in a very scary light. So if you're planning on reading Night Terrors coming up, or maybe you're not sure and you want a little taste of it, this is a fantastic one to do that with. For DC, they also have, I think this is one of the only books doing that this year, there is a variant for it, but this will actually cost you at your
Yep.
store. If you'll have to check
Not
with you,
free.
not free, but you'll have to check with your store what their price is on it, because I'm not sure. It kind of can go all over the place, but very cool foil cover for that.
I'll just say they charged us stores quite a bit for the foil ones.
Yep.
So yeah, they were not even a little above free.
Yes. And was going to show you, this actually came out the same day the new comics came out this week, but it's kind of intended for free comic book day. This is We Are Legends from DC, and they've got all these new characters coming up having their own books: Vigil, City Boy, Spirit World, and they all had their first appearances in different books. This collects all of their kind of first appearances, so you can just get this if you didn't get those before, so you're more familiar going forward with these new DC characters.
Yeah,
And
like
stores will probably have this on free comic book day for you as well.
we will. Like I was saying, DC likes to slide books in
Yeah,
there.
day
So
before. I
even
think there's
even
even one.
though, yeah, technically that book is out as of today, the third.
Uh,
I mean, they clearly hoped for us to overorder
yeah,
that for Free Comic Day, and we will.
yeah.
Okay, so my first book is the Spider-Man Venom book. If you watched our short show, we kind of talked about a lot of these early ones already, but this is a long show, so I'm going to tell you more. So this has the first appearance, not first appearance. This has the appearance of this character named Flexo, who is a robot way back from the 1940s, and it's an origin issue for him where you find out why did they create Flexo, and who are these scientists that use him to fight villains. Well, you learn that Flexo, and he is an old character, he's an old Marvel character. A symbiote gets attached to him, and now he is evil and scary. He is going to go up against Venom. I kind of showed it on the other show too. Um,
He's a real fun character too. His look.
yeah, so this is not resolved. This is setting up a new villain for Venom, and I believe will be Dylan Brock. In the Spider-Man story, he has to fight an ape who has been let out on the streets. Actually, it's a gorilla. Yeah, he fights a gorilla that has on the streets in New York. But the bigger question is who let that gorilla out, and what does it have to do with the plans of Craven and Doc Ock? This is done by Zeb Wells, who's writing the current Amazing Spider-Man story, and it is going to lead into the new plot line.
I always love those when it's, this is actually setting up something to come,
Yep.
which is what the case is in Uncanny Avengers. So this is a great one to get for X-Men fans, but also just because it's like all story. So in this one, it takes place during this year's Hellfire Gala, This, I think, the third year of the Hellfire Gala. And while that's going on, some mysterious person, always shrouded in shadow, so you can't see their face, so I can't say this is a first appearance or anything, is attempting to break into the X-Men's treehouse, their base, while everyone's over there. And what are they going for? They're going for Cyclops's Captain Krakoa suit that now he's no longer in because his identity came out as
That's all
Captain
been
Krakoa.
resolved.
That's all been resolved, but they still had the suit. And what is his plans to do? He's going to don it and do some horrible things unless the X-Men can stop him. Even Cyclops doesn't quite know who this person is, but really fun initial issue. And Captain America plays a pretty key role in it as well. Also in this is a couple of page backup story giving you a primer of the new Jonathan Hickman series coming out, Gods, which heavily deals with Doctor Strange and the kind of wider Marvel universe, the kind of the God level characters. So get a taste of that in Uncanny Avengers.
All right, so Marvel is doing a Voices issue for Free Comic Book Day. Now, 5 of these stories are reprints from previous Marvel Pride issues, but one of them is original, and the one that's original is a story with Riri Williams, where she has to defend an artifact in a museum. Museums are just ripe with things that people want to steal for power in the Marvel Universe. Well, this is being stolen by a new villain named Khem. Her name is spelled Khem. But, and you'll read it in the story, it seems like she is probably the daughter of the old villain Chemistro.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
So similar powers, but with a complicated past, you'll get some major hints at. And this is not resolved. Like, Kem does not get caught. She gets away. This is definitely setting up a major new villain for Riri Williams. Otherwise, it reprints 5 of the stories from previous Marvel Voices issues.
My next one is one I highly recommend. This is the new Conan the Barbarian from Titan Comics. They now have the license for Conan, and this it feels so classic Conan. This tells the story of kind of how Conan got his sense of adventure, what happened in Samaria that kind of gave him that idea, that longing to go out and adventure. Robert De La Torre does the art. It feels so classic, almost like Savage Sword of Conan from Marvel, that era of stuff. This is written by Jim Zub, who is the writer on Conan for Marvel. He came on over to do this with Robert De La Torre doing art. This is you can see the Free Comic Book Day logo up here. It's red. That means this is a mature title. So don't want the kids getting hold of this one because it's Conan. It has all the Conan blood and guts that you can expect, but all that fun and adventure. This is highly recommended if you can only get a couple.
I'm glad you bring that up. So the red banner means adult. The blue banner is sort of all ages, teen plus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not all ages. It's teen plus because green is all ages.
Green is all ages. Yep.
So the next one I'm going to talk about it is Clark and Lex, and then it has a second story with Fan Club, the Batman Squad. These are both upcoming comic young adult graphic novels. Clark and Lex, basically Luthor Corp has an internship coming up for the summer, and Clark decides to try out for it. Life as a high schooler is difficult for him because even though he has superpowers, he's not allowed to show them off. So he virtually just has to hide his powers. Well, it turns out somebody else has powers as well. May have something to do with his new pal Lex, who I doubt will be much of a pal further in. Fan Club has to do with this kid named Ernest, who is a big Batman fan, and he convinces his dog, his babysitter, and his best friend to form a club of crime fighters, and of course they end up going up against some real crime. So that's what's going on in this 2-in-1. That is it is for teen plus.
Okay, cool. Next up, I have Dark Horse's Star Wars High Republic Adventures. This is your only Star Wars book this year. But this is great. So this takes place during the first phase of the High Republic. So if you're reading the first one that was last year, this takes place and uses the characters from that adventure series, but does some pretty big things, including possibly a major death of a character, if you read that whole thing, that will be pretty shocking, but really great getting the High Republic stuff in Free Comic Book Day. Plus, there is a Avatar: The Last
Yep.
Airbender backup story I think a lot of people want.
Some people are going to get it for
Yeah,
even that.
called Lost and Found. So that's a really fun one as well.
And I see that's green, so that is
That is all
all
ages.
ages.
Yep.
My next one is as well. So it is Spidey and his amazing friends. This is based on the show on Disney Junior. It's got I'm sorry, Spidey, Ghost Spider.
Yep.
I almost called her Spider Ghost. And Miles Morales as they take on Doc Ock and the Green Goblin. So here's one that's great for all ages.
One I know a lot of Power Rangers fans will be looking for. This is Ranger Academy. This is setting up a whole new aspect of the Power Rangers universe. This follows a girl who is living on a planet almost as a shepherd. When a spaceship crash lands, she rescues them, and they're like, "Hey, we're on our way to become Junior Power Rangers." And she's like, "What are those?" But she's shown that she might have the makings of being a Power Ranger if her father will let her. This is it says all ages. I think this is kind of, for the Power Ranger age fan, anywhere from young to old will really enjoy this one and some new characters to add to it.
All right, another book that I recommend for sure is Red Sonja #0. It doesn't say #0, but it is. This is the beginning of a brand new ongoing series. And Red Sonja has a film coming up as well.
Yeah.
So they're really doing a lot with her property. This was really good. The art was really good. Basically, Red Sonja, she goes to this messed up town where all these executions are taking place to help a woman in need, but some force sort of starts taking over people and causing them to kill themselves on Red Sonja's sword.
No.
This is terrible because it frames her and it also angers her. So she wants to know who is doing that. That is generally what's going on. Then there's a backup story. The backup story is a reprint where it's like one of the classic Marvel Red Sonja comics from the original
Mm.
run, like with Roy Thomas doing the writing. So that's what you can expect to find in this.
Next up, we have from Opus Comics, the Frazettaverse. So this is really cool. This has 3 stories in it set in the Frazettaverse, uh, beginning with Death Dealer. This actually is kind of a catch-up story about all the stuff that's been going on with Death Dealer. Kind of covers the first 2 volumes, but Death Dealer's story is told by a talking skull. Just really fun, but this is a very mature book. It's got all the bits and bobs in it that make something mature. Second is a story, Mothman, which is based on a classic Frazetta painting about kind of your idea of the Mothman, the cryptozoological Mothman. But in this, what if he's maybe a alien who's crashed on Earth? Really fun story. That's going to be kicking off a new ongoing series coming up. And then Dawn Attacked has a fun short story in the end of this as well. So mature, but if you're a fan of stuff like Conan and all of that, you'll want to pick this one up.
All right. So the Riverdale crowd has come out with Archie Horror Presents the Cursed Library. So the Archie universe, they have gone up against a lot of occult and horror. I mean, just for ages now. This sort of asked the question, why is that? Why is Riverdale, which is such a nice, sunny, shiny place usually, have so much horror? Well, this is an anthology of 4 horror stories that are original to this comic. And we have a little crypt keeper here, the babysitter Jinx Holiday, who may have a little something to do with all the occult stuff that keeps happening around Riverdale. So here's one for all you Archie fans or all you horror fans.
Next up, I have Street Fighter from Udon. This is really cool. I always like the Street Fighter comics. The artem is fantastic. But this one, I mean, my notes for it is they fight in the street because most of this is a big fight with some of the newer Street Fighter characters. And it actually is kind of setting up a new Street Fighter prequel miniseries that's coming out, kind of about the origins of a lot of the characters. So another one that's really fun if you're a video game fan.
Okay, so this is for Star Trek fans. It is Star Trek Day of Blood Prelude. So Day of Blood is an upcoming crossover between the regular Star Trek comic and the Defiant comic, those two series that are going on at once. I read this one, and yes, there is blood in it. A Starfleet officer and his ship visits a Klingon planet where they're having some sort of ceremony that turns into more than a ceremony. It's sort of a rallying against Starfleet. And even as the captain tries to flee on his ship, it doesn't go too well, thus the blood. There will be repercussions. There's also a lower decks backup story that's a lot lighter than that.
Next up from Valiant Comics, we have Shadow Man Dark Legacy. This is really cool because it has a new kind of origin story for Shadow Man written and drawn by one of his original creators, Bob Hall. So very classic storytelling here, great art. And if you don't know anything about Shadow Man, this will catch you up on his backstory. There is also a Exo Manowar story at the end of it that is by your current Exo Manowar team, Becky Cloonan, and art by Liam Sharp.
Now, I don't know if it's still the case, but Valiant was saying the next movie they were going to do was Shadow
With Shadow
Man.
Man, yeah, I
So
think he's a
I'm not
great one
surprised
for
to
it.
see that property being put out for free
He's one of my
comic.
favorites.
All right, so this was a great read, and if you like the cover art, the interior art looks like this. It is The Sacrificers by Rick Remender with art by Max Fiamara. That he's the one who does the cover here, the interior art. So this is really interesting. Rick Remender, that's all he can write is interesting stories,
Yeah.
I find. This is set in some alien planet or alien to us, where there's sort of a totalitarian government that rules. And one of the ways that they're able to keep the world at peace is every family has to sacrifice a child. I think it's yearly. It's some annual event. So that's just a really messed up situation. This is following two characters. One is this kid who's being hid by his family, which seems like a good thing, except he also seems very abused. It's really like, what is going on here? Like, why are they saving you? But at the same time, you're treated terribly. The other main character is a girl in a totally different era, totally different family, who is born to an affluent, influential family, and she doesn't like the way the world is going, and she secretly wants to destroy it all. How will these characters come together? What will happen? I don't know, but this was a great example of just an independent comic.
I'm guessing that's going to be a new series coming up.
It is, yes. This is original. This is a preview that leads into it.
I think that's going to be kind of a sleeper hit.
Yep.
Next up is The Last Comics on Earth. This is a spinoff of the Last Kids on Earth series. This is kind of a sampler from one of their new hardcover young adult kid graphic novels. You will love this. It's about the kids from the Last Kids on Earth decide to continue their favorite comic series now that it's like a post-apocalyptic world, and you get to see them writing it and doing the art in it. It's great. If you've never heard of Last Kids on the Earth, just ask any kid around; they'll tell you all about it.
Okay, so check this out. For those of you who don't just love comics but love the industry, it is I Am Stan. It is a graphic biography of Stan Lee by Tom Scioli. So this is Stan Lee, sort of its early Marvel days. He is the directing editor, and you get to see conversations with him and Jack Kirby as they're coming up with, some of the most iconic characters ever. Steve Ditko's in it. It's just this is nothing that's like I don't know how on the record it all is, but it's still in biography territory, but done in graphic novel style. So this is the sort of thing that I like.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's another one to definitely look for and check out. I know the right people are going to see this and go, "Yep, need it."
Yeah, and he's one of the artists that did some of those like the X-Men and Hulk Grand Design. He's one of your Grand Design creators.
That makes complete sense.
Yep. Next up for manga fans is, excuse me if I mispronounce it, I think Chojin X. This is I think both of these manga that this cover are already out, but it's always cool to get them in kind of like traditional comic size. About a guy who wakes up and he's got a bird face, and how does that affect his life? I'm sure there's more to it than that, but I thought that was really interesting. But the backup story, Rooster Fighter, now that's the good stuff right there. About a rooster that's getting picked on by some kids. So an old man claims it's his rooster to protect it until he finds out it is a warrior rooster, and there is a giant demon office man attacking the city, and the rooster is going to go up against it. Just, I mean, I know you've heard that story 100 times, but it's told fantastic here.
All right. Are you a stoner? Do you like 1960s satirical comedy? Well, this might be for you. It is the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers Freak Comic Book Day 2023. So, Fantagraphics is coming out with a hardcover volume of all the Freak Brothers comics. These are some of the most famous comic characters from the underground comics scene. That's comics with an X. And they are reprinting them. This is a little sampler of a bunch of those, which works perfectly because they didn't tend to do like full issues. It was always like a page or two of whatever little story or comedy thing they were doing. So that is coming out as well.
We also have another manga style book. This is Animal Crossing, Deserted Island, and also has Kirby in it as well. So this is kind of the first chapters from the 2 different manga. This is all ages. If you're a fan of Animal Crossing, this is a really fun kind of story version of that, and a really fun Kirby story in the back as well. And that one is all ages.
Okay. Animal Castle is getting a volume 2, and they're beginning it with this little preview for Free Comic Book Day. This is going to have 12 pages of the issue number 1 for volume 2, but also to catch you up, it's going to have 18 pages of the issue number 1 of volume 1, just to give you context. This is set in a world, it's a kingdom where it's all animals, and it is ruled by one very terrible, cruel animal ruler. And people want to rise up against them, but some animals want to do it in a very bloody way. Our main character wants to do it in a more peaceful way. And it's just, a lot of politics, a lot of Animal Farm vibes.
Yeah.
There's no way to get around that. So
I've got Lois Lane, Girl Taking Over. This is another one of the DC kind of young adult books. It's an excerpt, kind of a chapter 1 from a recently released Lois Lane graphic novel. So if you have kind of teens, tweens, this is a great one. It's a great graphic novel.
Okay, so this is for you horror fans, Tom Holland's Fright Night. So this is going to lead into an upcoming more comic set in the Fright Night universe. So Fright Night was a 1985 horror film, and it was a cult classic, meaning it sort of built its audience up over the years, and now more material is being released for it. So this is, it's all set in that universe, which it's a mixture of horror and humor with some drama. That's the way I would describe Fright Night. So for you horror fans, this is one you may want to look for.
This one is great. This is Dogman and the League of Misfits, but who's also on there? That is Captain Underpants. Dave Pilkey writes a new comic for Free Comic Book Day, and this is kind of like a greatest hits of all the characters he's created make an appearance in here. Dogman, one of the highest selling comic books of all time.
Yep.
People don't think about that, but it is, and I think this is going to be a big one this year too for all ages.
Okay, so I'm going to get into some of the adult ones I have, the red band ones. It is Umbrella Academy, but it has a backup story of The Witcher. So this is original material for both of these properties. I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of people come in for this. The Umbrella Academy and their story, they have to go to another dimension to fight a cosmic horror. Sounds about like what they do sometimes. And then The Witcher, you have it where he is trying to figure out who is turning women into frogs. So instead of frog print, it's sort of a play on that. So.
Well, you got to your adult ones, and I got to my all ages ones.
Yeah, mine's coming up. Yeah, we should have coordinated.
Mine is Babysitter's Little Sister. I have way too many feelings about this book. I read it. Man, this hairdresser just ruins this little girl's life. But it's great. This is all ages, of course. I think a lot of people really like this, but this probably got the biggest emotional reaction out of me when this poor girl goes in with the hairstyle she wants, and the hairdresser just doesn't even look at it, cuts her hair, and it just ruins her life. Highly recommended this book.
Okay, so the next one, this is another adult one. It is Jeff Lemire, Fishflies. I can't imagine this is super adult. Like I've read a lot of Jeff Lemire stuff, and it's more his themes. He'll have themes
Yeah,
of death
very
and
mature
remorse, and
theme.
yeah. So this is set in a town that is plagued by these little flies, thus the name. Meanwhile, our main character, this girl, she runs away from home and she meets this silent sort of monster she becomes friends with. So this is a preview of the upcoming issue #1, which drops in June from Eisner Award winning writer and artist Jeff Lemire, who does the art and the writing in this. So definitely want to check this out. And that issue #1 is going to be 64 pages. So it was
Wow.
easier for him to cut a little chunk
Yeah,
off to
this is
let
just a
us
little bit.
see what it's about on Free Comic Book Day.
Next up, I have RuneScape Untold Tales of the God Wars. And of course, this is based on the highly popular game RuneScape. I actually really like this one, and I was sad when it was over because this has a great atmosphere where this very like ring wraith character comes into a tavern. He comes in here every night. He always orders a drink but never drinks it, and he always just kind of looks around and is like, "Who's ready for a story? I've got this story." And right as he is starting his story, it's over, and it just goes to some like concept art and all of that. I'm like, no, I want to hear what this man has to say. But the setup for it's actually really cool. The character design is great. So, of course, RuneScape fans, check this one out.
They got you on the hook.
It
Now when
got me
that
on the hook
comic comes
so
out.
much of the hook that I'm like, no, I got angry.
All right, time for my all ages section. It's a little
Hopefully,
late.
that's not mature.
It is Smurfs 65th anniversary comic. So this is just more material that adds to all the Smurf comics they've done before, which of course has influenced the old cartoon, the newer Nickelodeon cartoon, and there's an upcoming Smurfs movie.
Mhm.
So I think the people who love Smurfs are going to be very happy with the 65th anniversary Free Comic Book Day comic.
The previous year, we sold out of Smurfs as like one of our first ones that went. So that's a hot item. Next up, I have from Aftershock Seismic Stories. This is two stories. First one is an original story in the Animosity universe where one day all the animals woke up and got, they could think, they could act, and they kind of do
They
an up.
revolt against humanity.
Yeah, but a really nice story about an older woman who would feed the birds and feed the animals. So when this uprising happens, they actually decide we're going to protect her from everything. And she starts her life in the beginning very lonely. And then later on, they basically say, you'll never be alone because there's all these animals protecting her. Very nice story. And then the backup story is from a new upcoming graphic novel called The Darkness We Brought Back, about some teenagers that find a mysterious doorway that leads to a horrendous dimension. So that was a very fun one as well.
Like every year, there's more and more manga
Yep.
titles, which is great because more and more people come in our shop looking for manga. I'm glad that we can provide all of that because it's all comics, really.
It is.
So this is a new shonen manga, a new upcoming shonen manga. This is a preview for it called Punch Up. And the premise of this is there's an orphan who has learned how to fight and he joins this worldwide tournament, not just to win the tournament, but because he suspects that one of the most famous fighters in it is actually his father. And he wants to try to convince this person that he's his father and that they should fight side by side to win the tournament together. I bet some drama is going to go down with that, though. I bet there's going to be some disappointment. So, anyhow, that's what's going on in Punch Up.
Now I'm back to my all ages. This is Sweet Valley Twins. This is a preview of the next upcoming Sweet Valley Twins graphic novel set in the Sweet Valley High and all those books. My girlfriend really likes this one, so yep, check this one out as well.
Okay, so here's an all ages book. It's Kotto Kotorro. So this character, Kotto, he is a Puerto Rican empanadilla food truck operator whose boisterous friends make his life just crazy with just their.
Okay, next up, I've got Mech Cadets. This is a new one by Greg Pak, the writer of Darth Vader currently. But this is original property, and it's getting turned into a Netflix show. And this is an all ages book as well. A really fun one.
Okay, so my last one is Mexi Kid. This is an excerpt from an upcoming graphic novel. It's sort of biographic. It is by the actual person there. Pedro is his name, and he goes on a cross country trip of self discovery to pick up his abuelo and bring her to live home with his family. He's never quite felt like he's an American. He's never quite felt like he's a Mexican. He's a Mexican. He
Yeah.
has to figure out what parts of him he is. So that's kind of in the solicitation.
My last one is Shaman King Flowers. This is another kind of excerpt from the recently released, I believe this week, manga Shaman King, The Return of Shaman King. Plus, it has a backup story of Welcome to Demon School. So, another manga. So many manga titles this year for your pleasure.
Okay, so that is almost all the free comics that any store could order. There was just a few of them that our store didn't order, lack of interest. Some of them they raised the price on. We do pay for these
Yeah.
books. Some of them the prices were like, "Are you kidding me?" But I think there were 43 out there we could get. We got 38 of them, and then there's at least one or two more that DC snuck in. So I hope we've done our job and we have informed you about these books because, I mean, it's like a regular comic book release day,
Yeah.
except you're
A big
literally
one.
not allowed to get them all. You have
Yeah.
to choose. All right. Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget, check out our website at infinityflux.net, where you can buy things from our store. You can sign up to be a subscriber to series. Anything you pre-order, you get 10% off. And we just really appreciate that. That helps keep the lights on, keeps our workers paid. So anyhow, thank you for watching, and we'll be back on Friday with our normal video, Comics from the Future, where we go over all the comics that are available to order for this week. So have a great day, and we will see you then.